What's up, guys? Brad here from Piney Grove, and we have a special guest today. Who we got here?
I'm Lucas from Peaks Peak Hobby Homestead.
So Lucas and I have been YouTube friends for a couple years now, and he came down here last year, but he didn't have a chance to really use Precious, our mini excavator. So we're gonna jump on this 24 horsepower KX71 Kubota excavator. We've got a couple of trees I wanna take down, and what we're gonna do is, he's a new operator, so I'm just gonna show him basics. And what I found with people with an excavator is you can tell them this does that, and then micromanage them, and it doesn't help them at all.
Yeah.
It's better just to get them on the machine and let them kind of feel their way through it.
Yeah.
So when I first got the excavator, the very first day, I took down a couple of oak trees. I was so excited to have an excavator. I had no idea what I was doing, and I just kind of clawed away at them, and it was absolutely awful. And I know that. So what we're gonna do is throw up some of that footage.
So he wants to make me look awful in front of you.
Exactly. So here in front of the world, we're gonna do the same thing to you. We're building a new house out here in Piney Grove, and these trees actually block the view of the house of this portion of the pasture. So Deb and I made the decision the other day, these trees need to come down, and I said, what a perfect opportunity for someone to practice is taking down these cedar trees.
Yeah.
So I know you have backhoe experience.
I've never operated anything with tracks. That's the first thing. Now, I know that's not going to be a major part of this. Most of it will be operating the boom, but I'm anxious to see how the controls work. I mean, I notice it's got a joystick, and on my backhoe I've got two.
Yep.
So I don't know how all of this works. I don't know what anything does, so I'm about to find out.
And oh, by the way, he's not a foot taller than me. I'm just down here on a little depression.
This way he always makes fun of my tractor. He's got little man syndrome.
Excavator is nothing but a bunch of hydraulic cylinders. 1, 2, 3 hydraulic cylinders there. Then the thumb has its own hydraulic cylinder. And then this is considered or called the house. So one of the controls will spin the house, and then he has a different control that will run the dozer blade. And down here by his right foot, there's a little lock-in or detent, and that changes it from backhoe mode to excavator mode. And right now it's in excavator mode. You've got 4 different directions you can go with the stick. I'm just gonna let him kind of talk through it as he learns and adjusts, because I think that'll make for a better video. By your right foot is a little pedal, and that right foot lets you pivot the boom. And that actually actuates a cylinder right here, and it makes the boom pivot. So lift it up off the dirt, and now use that. Left side.
Oh, I see, okay.
Here's what we're talking about. We have a cylinder here, and that keeps the house still, but then the boom goes left and right.
Okay, so we don't need that.
No, because generally you're gonna center the machine over top of your work. That's when you're in tight spaces and you can't swing your house around.
Yeah.
So another thing about an excavator, while Lucas is getting used to the controls, is this is not a zero swing or zero tail excavator. And what that means is that this tail actually comes over top of the tracks. So if you are up close to a building, you can actually hit your building with the excavator. The Kubota U series is a zero tail swing, and that actually swings within the tracks. But this is the KX series, and they actually have the extension or the wider, or I guess the deeper house.
How do you move the grapple?
You gotta do it every time. Hit that button until a green light comes on. Do it again.
When do I turn that off? Like, do you keep it just up out of the way when you're digging?
When you're digging and don't use it, I keep it up out of the way, and every time you activate this, it turns off that flow.
Okay.
So normally you're not gonna use the thumb in general digging.
Gotcha.
I don't like to bring it up too far because it actually hits that hose, so I leave it right where it is.
Right there, okay. All right.
All right, so those controls right there, those 2 sticks are make the tracks go forward and back. Now kind of work the other controls and spin the excavator and just kind of mimic like you're digging and see if that feels comfortable to you, and kind of explain what you're doing as you do it.
Okay, so here's what is going to be the real trip for me is learning to operate the boom and the dipper together on these separate controls.
So what's your initial impressions, backhoe versus excavator? What are you thinking?
Well, so there are lots of extra things to work with here. So it's like adding other features. Now, as far as excavator controls and backhoe controls, I can't have an opinion yet because I don't even know what I'm doing.
But the one thing I want you to take away from this portion of this video is look at that smile on his face. I've said it many times. This excavator puts a smile on my face. I don't care how much work I got to do with it. I don't care how much I'm sweating. It is just a fun machine to operate.
I'm gonna tear your yard up.
Well, Lucas was being a little rough on Piney Grove's grass, so I had to drive Precious over here. So what I did is I got it close to the cedar tree here, and we're gonna have him dig. I'm gonna try and, tell him how I would do it, but at the end of the day, he just kind of has to figure it out himself. All right, so the number one thing you want to do is stabilize the excavator. And the best way to dig out a tree or a stump is actually flip it around and have that behind you, because it makes the excavator longer and more stable.
Okay.
But with something small like this, I usually attack it like this.
Okay.
So with the thing with the green button on it, push that down and that'll push your dozer blade down. Don't hit the button.
Oh, what's the button?
Changed it to rabbit mode.
Oh, my bad. I turned it down.
So it's a 2-speed excavator, so 1 speed to do work, and then if you want a road gear, it's got a little rabbit. When you hit the button, Lucas already wanted to go in rabbit mode.
That's right.
All right.
You lift it up just a hair?
Just a hair.
Okay.
So you got that set? And now you don't need the thumb. What I would do, and I positioned it here where you can reach it, is kind of dig a little bit on this side, dig a little bit on this side, and then go on the back side of the tree and just see if you can get it to move. I mean, there's a million ways to dig out a tree.
Yeah.
This thing is not tall enough to hurt you.
Right.
So even if it comes over on you, you're fine. So I'm just gonna let you claw away at it, and I'm gonna go over there and make fun of you.
All right, well, yeah. Stay far enough back that I can't swing around and take you out. I'm struggling is what I'm doing.
So you're too far away from the tree. Get closer to the tree. Don't dig out that far. That'll make way too big a hole.
Well, see, with the BX, you'd have to be that far out to get the roots that you can break.
BX wouldn't be strong enough to break big roots next to a tree. I don't know what the breakout force is of this excavator, but it's well over 1,000 pounds. It might be 3,000 pounds. But when you hear it groaning, that means you need to speed it up.
Speed it up more? Man, so unnatural.
I see him kind of popping the handle. I just stay on the handle and I pull it towards me until I hear the machine groan, and then I back off of it. But everyone has to figure out their own way to operate. So I told him to get it right up against the trunk and rip those roots. And it really is just one of those things you have to get used to. I had minimal excavator experience before we bought this. All work with the excavator is not created equal. Some of it's grading, some of it's digging a trench, some of it's pulling out trees, and each one has a little bit different skill set. This is what I like. I like that smile.
It's a blast. But it's also me laughing at myself, because you would think that it would come to you and you would, but I keep finding myself accidentally turning the, whatever you call the
house.
The house. You find yourself turning the house instead of controlling the dipper.
There's so many expert excavators out there on YouTube that make me look foolish, and you can't worry about that. Just go out there and learn it, get the job done, and just have fun on this great machine. So the only thing you have to be careful about when you're up against limbs is you see the hydraulic hoses.
I was getting ready to ask you, like how much you can push on branches and stuff without.
I would say that's the limit,
do any
because
more
you
of
don't
that.
want to break hydraulic hoses because we have a long day. But I think you can rip enough roots right there that you can get that tree over.
I didn't save enough vacation money to buy you new hoses. So.
That's one thing Deb was always worried about, with breaking the machine, and probably the biggest or easiest way to break it is break a hydraulic hose. I've never done that. I have hit enough branches that the hose got loose and I tightened it and it was fine. Uh-oh.
I missed. Hold on, we got this. We got this. Or not.
So that's what you find is when it's throttled up, it's more jerky.
Yeah.
It's fine. You can leave it throttled up. You just got to be more sensitive.
Yeah, I don't want banging around.
I would bring the bucket in here, right here, and I'd cut these roots a little more, right?
Yeah.
Make it looser here, and then I would take the house and push the cedar that way till it was leaning enough that I could grab it with the thumb, and then I'd try to pick it up.
Okay.
Because right now you can't pick it
That'd
up
be
because
fun.
it's vertical.
Yeah, right.
So knock it that way.
I forget about the thumb too.
There's a root there, man. Get that root. Your bucket curl is stronger than your boom pull in.
That's right. I'm not using the bucket curl.
Right, so go over there, and once you put the bucket down, curl the bucket towards you. You should rip that root.
All right, let me get in there. I forget about, see, that's what I'm saying. There's so many options. I'm not.
All right, come in under it, curl your bucket, and then thumb down once the bucket's curled.
Oh.
Hold on. Go.
I took out my own camera.
All right, now lift it up and drop it to get the dirt out of it. You got to uncurl your bucket.
There we go. Man, this has got to be painful for you to watch.
It's funny, actually. All right, folks, he got his very first tree ever out with a mini excavator. Did a good job. The hole's not too deep. Now we'll cart that off and we'll do another one.
All right, now let's
Swing
see.
the house with your left hand, the other way. So I specifically said don't put the tree on the brush pile. You can't hire good help anymore. All good, man. No, leave it, leave it.
No, I got to move it. Where you want it?
Perfect, the perfect place for it.
He's afraid to let me put it anywhere else.
All right, so what we're gonna do now is backfill this with this extra dirt. So Lucas, come in high so you don't cut any more extra dirt, and then just push it. While he's doing that, I'm gonna go grab the tractor and put a bucket of dirt there so that he can pack it in. And then we'll see if he can pick up that little root there with the bucket. Hey Lucas, see if he can use the thumb and pick that up and put it on the pile. Now the thumb does not close completely unless the bucket's curled. There you go. See, that's as far as the thumb goes. You might have got it.
We'll see. I'm probably gonna drop it.
I think so.
I ain't winning no egg challenges with this thing.
I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up, kind of grade this off a little bit and pack it in with the excavator. There's not a lot of packing that can be done because it's so dry. But then I'm gonna take out the second tree and Lucas is just gonna kind of watch the way I did it. And at the end, we'll have some thoughts about mini excavator versus the backhoe. All right, guys, both those cedar trees are out. Let's turn it over to Lucas and have him explain his first experience on a mini excavator and talk about the differences, what he saw me doing, pulling the tree out versus himself pulling the tree out.
Well, not much to explain. It was total chaos. Adding just a couple of more variables in there to the controls makes all the difference. One of the things that I noticed was as I was working on the tree and I couldn't get one root out, he reminded me that the curling power of the bucket is much stronger than pulling the dipper in. And I was aware of that, but I forgot to even move the bucket because I was trying to figure out all the other controls. So it was a little bit overwhelming, but it was a whole lot of fun.
From backhoe to excavator, what would you say was the most useful additional control that you had, or function or maneuverability? What would you say is the number one?
Well, number one for me is the hydraulic thumb.
Okay.
Because I don't have the ability to grab things and move them around. In addition to that, or working with that, is being able to swing the house around in the 360 motion is amazing. I have seen it in action, but when you get to do it, you realize just what that does for you. Because when he actually first told me to move the tree, I was thinking, okay, I need to lift up the blade and then drive this thing around, because I wasn't used to being able to swing the house. And so being able to turn it around and drop that tree in the wrong spot was a lot of fun.
With that house moving, it gives you a different angle. It lets you attack the tree differently, attack the trench differently. A lot of times just moving the house gives you that angle you need to finish the job. So I'm glad you caught on to that because you weren't on it very long. But did you see a difference in the way that I did it versus you?
Well, I think the biggest thing was the fact that I didn't have the confidence to be aggressive with it, and turn the power up and really tear out the roots on the one side. So where I dug on one side and then dug on the other side, and then I finally decided, okay, I'm going to swing this thing and push the tree over. It pushed it right over. So I think probably it was more capable than I was giving it credit for, one. And two, when you turned up the throttle, there was a lot more power. I could see it in the way that you moved the bucket. And I wasn't feeling that power, but I also wasn't ready for it because I was jerky even with the throttle down. So it would take some time to get built up to that.
I always adjust the throttle to the minimum that I need to get the job done. But I talk about, and Deb talks about, how valuable this machine is to our property. And that's mainly because we don't have a manicured, groomed, 20 cleared acres. If we had bought this property with a house on it and all the water lines were dug and all the driveways were put in and there was no trees to remove, we probably wouldn't need an excavator. But because we have the type of property that we have, this thing is so useful where we can come out here, we don't have to rent an excavator, we can pop out a tree that's in our way and then park it in the garage or back in the shed, and it's ready for the next job, and we know that there's plenty of jobs ahead of us.
I could definitely find a lot of uses for it. And I'm sure it's like the backhoe, once you have it, you find more reasons to use it. But I will also say, I would think that it's absolutely invaluable for someone who is developing their property. Now, where my 38 acres is kind of set up the way I want it, we're not establishing a whole lot of new, opening up pasture or doing anything like that. So I don't necessarily think it would be an investment for me. It's a whole lot of fun. And so if you have the resources or you are developing property, I would say it's almost a necessity for that.
All right, guys, we got a couple more videos we want to get to, so we're going to close this one out. We sure appreciate you watching. Any closing words, Lucas?
Just y'all have a good day.
All right, y'all take care out there. Remember, life's short, tractor hard.